our identity. You know, in the class today, the Visionary Parents Academy today, I said we are going to have this class, and I do hope you are here with all your materials, all your writing materials. Before I started this class, I was doing research. You know, I always say, like I shared in the academy, I always do my online research. I always also research around me, physical research. And one of the things I kept getting online was that first children are leaders, firstborns are leaders. If you do and do your research, that's what you will find. Firstborns are leaders. And I was asking myself, firstborns are leaders. A couple of months ago, the other academic section, I was in my children's school, and there was this woman. She was complaining bitterly about her eldest sister. You know, she was talking about how she has made poor choices, how she has been a lot of, you know, one would say obiangeli, you know, people that came into this world to enjoy. She has been a lot of that, and how she has made poor choices. And she said something that before the woman married, when that somebody, a celebrity, a major Nigeria celebrity, RMD, Richard Mufedamijo, wanted to marry her, that she said no, that if Richard had married her, her life would have been better. And now the sister is always calling them, asking for money, disturbing them. Good afternoon, man. Thank you for joining. This sister is always calling them, demanding for money and disturbing them, and everyone in the home is frustrated. She was basically talking about how the sister has always made irresponsible choices, and even that day she was talking about some of the things the sister presently does, and they were not quite very responsible. So when I was doing my research and I kept seeing things like, oh, firstborns are leaders, I'm like, really? Is this just assumption based on the fact that firstborn, first position, so leadership position is first, so firstborn is supposed to be leaders? Is that just the assumption? You know, back to the story I was sharing, I also remember that day the woman wasn't telling me, actually she was telling another woman, and the other woman asked her, have you people done the firstborn prayers? Have you broken the firstborn curse? And she went on saying that how even in her family they had to break the firstborn curse, and how very many families, their firstborns are cursed, and so because of that they inherit kind of a certain curse. In Africa or Nigeria, they inherit a kind of certain curse, and until that firstborn curse is broken, that firstborns, they don't usually make good choices, they don't live responsible lives. And I told her, I honestly wish you would watch this video, because I shared it on my WhatsApp status. I looked at her and I said, firstborns are cursed from where? Our firstborn doesn't have any leader. Okay, ma. I said, firstborns are cursed from where? Like, have you ever sat down to think it is the way these firstborns were raised, the way they were parented, that, you know, because the way we are raised shape us a great deal. We're talking about identity, our children's identity. That's what we are all about this month. So the way firstborns were raised, or the way firstborns are being raised, we go a long way to shape who they become. And here, before I continue, it is not really about birth order, firstborn, secondborn, thirdborn. It is actually about the family dynamics. A firstborn can be raised in a particular home, and yes, they will be leaders, they will fly. A firstborn can be raised in another home, and they will not even be followers, let alone leaders. They will struggle. So it is not about birth order per se, it is about the family dynamics. Oh, if you take statistics of people telling you about their firstborns, you'll be wondering, you are supposed to be a firstborn is supposed to be a leader. What happened? It is actually about how the firstborn is being raised. One of the things I see very common in Nigeria and in Igbo culture is the culture of the Ada. Each time I say this, some Igbo people, they don't find it funny. They will say, oh, it's not always like that. But it is what is like that, majority of it. The Ada is the first, I think they say Ada means first child, first daughter. It means mother. So the Ada is always raised to step into that motherhood shoes. Most times the Ada is raised to step into that motherhood shoes. It is why you see the Adas, again, they indeed become mothers because of how they are raised. And it is not just about their parents raising them, the cultural programming, they all come together to impact or influence how the child turns out, how the family, how the birth order actually impacts the child, shapes the child's identity. That is what we are looking at today, birth order. If you have your children, if they are grown, you will learn, and then you need to go back put things right. If your children are still young, you're in luck. It's time for you to wake up right now and start putting things in order, so that order got nothing on your child, bad order got nothing on my child. My name is Enimien Oruebor, and this is the visionary parent with Enimien Oruebor. Sorry, this is powered by the Visionary Parent Academy. The Visionary Parent Academy is an academy that parents get to register once in the entire year, and they get empowered. They get skilled up, they get knowledge, they get skills, they get wisdom, the confidence to raise the children that they have. You agree with me that in the times we are, oh, it's crazy really. But in the Visionary Parents Academy, we get the skills that will help us raise the children we actually have. I was telling my teenagers in church on Sunday that, see, there's something called reparenting. At some point in your life, you are going to wake up and you are going to say, I need to unlearn some things my parents taught us. No matter how much of an expert your parents were raising you or your parents are, you wake up and you want to unlearn some things. You know why? Because times would have evolved. The things that served your parents may not serve you. However, what we want to look at, what we always look at in the visionary parents, are the universal principles that will still serve over and over, that will serve a lifetime, that will serve a generation. We want to empower our children, want to teach them, want to position them that no matter how much the world changes, they know their values, they know who they are, they know where they are coming from and where they are going to, and they are able to navigate no matter the times that we are or the times they find themselves. That is it. So what you want to do, send a message and ask how you can be part of the Visionary Parents Academy. I tell you, it's a very vibrant community. We meet every single day. We read books. We have resources. We interact. We don't judge. We are free to share what we actually are, struggles. We are free to share our struggles. We are excited to share our wins. In fact, we are always winning in the Visionary Parents Academy because, like I always say, everything about parenting is a win for you. Everything in parenting is supposed to be a win for you. Okay, so today, this month is all about nurturing deep-rooted identity in your children. We want to raise children who, no matter what is world is saying, no matter the place they are, no matter what the time is saying, they know who they are. Last week, we look at the topic, when you tell your child, remember the home you are coming from, remember the child of whom you are. Last week, we asked the question, who are you that your child should remember? Who are you? And I remember saying things like, when we say remember the child of who you are, it simply means that you are telling your child when you face events of life, because you are going to meet the events of life. That is certain. So when you face the events of life, how are you going to respond to them? Remember the child of who you are. Remember how I, your mom, your dad, responded to this particular event. That is the child of who you are. Know the home you are coming from. In our home, this is our identity. This is how we respond to the events of life. So when you tell your child, remember the home you are coming from, you are telling your child, when you go out there, when you become a lecturer and all the guests are coming to you, half clothed, showing off all their cleavages and everything, remember the home you are coming from. You are coming from a home that you are not tempted. You are coming from a home that you know better. You have self-discipline. That was what we talked about last week. And I was telling my teenagers in church on Sunday that it is going to get worse. I don't know if I've mentioned it here. Let me mention it here. Thank you so much for the love. I was saying that it is going to get worse. I was telling them that if you are not moral, if you are not sexually disciplined, if you don't go and sexually discipline yourself, it is going to get worse. I said, because look at what is happening around you. Everybody is doing BBL on their face. They not told me it was not BBL on their face. I said, okay, it's not BBL on the face. They are actually sculpting their face. They are snatching their face. They are lifting their face. They are lifting their booktons. They are lifting their breast. They are lifting every part of their body. At the end of the day, they become like a Snapchat filter, creation. They look so perfect, and you are tempted here and there. So if you are someone that you have not grown your self-discipline, it is going to get worse. So as a parent, in fact, you cannot afford not to parent intentionally, because it's going to get worse. It is going to get worse. Are you seeing what the girls are doing for your sons? Are you seeing what the girls are doing? Like, you will see somebody today. in those days, it used to be someone that was light skinned and someone that was dark skinned has become light skinned. That was all we grew up knowing. Today, someone with a kind of flat nose has a pointed nose. Someone with big eyes, they have tiny eyes. A lot of adjustments on their body, on their facial features. What do you think are the features rather? What do you think? If your child, if doesn't have self-discipline, it's going to get crazy. Anyways, that is not what we are talking about. We'll have that conversation in the Visionary Parent Academy, hopefully. So today we are talking about birth order. Again, this is brought to you by the Visionary Parent Academy. If you are not with us, please come and join us so that we can all grow together. We can all raise children that the world will be proud of, that we will be proud of, that people will see our children and they will bless us. I bless the mom that raised you. I bless the father that raised you. And not the one people will say, something that would have been prevented, just one 15 condom would have prevented this. We don't want that. It is not our portion, God forbid. As we are saying God forbid, we are putting in the work. It is why we need to be intentional. Yes, there's so much. One of the coaches in the Visionary Parent Academy sent a message to him, sent me a video. It was about a police. I think the police is in Delta State. That woman police that goes about advocating for protection of the child and all of that, was talking about how a particular parent sent the child, 10 years old, to go and learn a skill. I can understand very well, I very much understand. The child comes back from school and they are playing everywhere, maybe even bickering up and down. You just feel, okay, I beg, this is too much. Let me send this child to go and all this energy he has, let him put it into productive use. That was it. Good parenting, good intentions, harmless, visionary parent. Send the child, go to the next shop there. It's a barbing salon. Not necessarily because she wanted the child to grow up to become a barber. No, just so the child can channel his energy properly. Guess what happened? The guy there started sexually abusing the boy, man to man. So much so, 2 whole years. The parents were not aware. Why were the parents not aware? We cannot afford not to be intentional. We cannot afford. I see this lady that calls and said, this is Ogbanje, Angela Wosu, sharing how how her parents used to discipline her. She was crying. Many people were coming back to say, Angela is always lying. Angela is always lying. See, do you not even know what trauma does to a person? You, if you are part of them, say Angela is always lying. Because I don't know the girl like that, so I don't follow her. So when people are saying he's always lying, I get it. Digital footprints. She has made bad choices in the past, so it's hard for people to believe her. I get it very well. But do you even know what trauma does? She's always lying. Why would she not lie if her parents were actually disciplining her like that? Discipline, if they were very, very toxic to her in the manner she described. Don't you think she will be an expert in lying? Because she will learn to lie to survive. That is it. Why do you think people lie? They lie because they want to survive. So she will not learn to lie to survive. They say she's very manipulative. Of course, she had to survive. So she will learn to manipulate to survive. And like we always say, these things shaped who she is. Talking about shaping identity. They shaped who she is today. So those things that happened to her in childhood, so you are calling her a liar. Those were the things that shaped her, that made her a liar. Because she had to survive one way or the other. She never enjoyed all those torture, all those extreme tortures. So she will have to look for a way to avoid them. So she will start manufacturing lies, start manipulating the environment and everything. So before you come and say, oh, she's not traumatized, she's pretending, know that all those things done to her actually the result you are seeing. And you know the funny thing, the first couple of times I saw her, somebody told me that because I said, nah, this girl is definitely not okay. I think I've made a post about it a long time ago. I said she's not very okay mentally or psychologically. She's not completely okay. And over time, I saw that it is true. Anyway, that's the topic for another day. Today we are talking about birth order, how birth order influences a person's identity, how birth order shapes a person's identity. And one of the things I said was that it's not really about birth order, it's actually about your family dynamics, because you can have the same birth order in the family, and the children will turn out differently from family B with the same birth order. Now, one of the first things I want to start with is, when I was just racking my brain and going through this, trying to put information together, one of the things I came up with, I said, we can have 3 children, 4 children, 5 children, and these children, they have one single mom and one single dad, but they are going to have different parents. Your children can be 4, 5. They are going to have different parents, because your children's experience of you, the first child will experience you differently from the second child. The second child will experience you differently from the first child. Now, this is where I talked about family dynamics, and it is not even negotiable. I'll give you a particular example. I remember when I had my first son, it was just him going to school. I'll put the it was bobo then. I'll put the bobo, I'll put the biscuit, I'll put the apple, I'll put the food and everything. If a bag full, go to school. It was just him. By the time my daughter came in, I had to realize that, okay, the income wasn't increasing, and this was not really practicable for me anymore. I had to now give myself some brains and manage things. So for my son, even though he did not finish the apple, big apple, I will still put it anyways. If you like, eat it. If you like not eat it, it doesn't matter. I remember a friend of mine was telling me, when you want to buy clothes for your son, you just buy his perfect size. That's not how to do it. Buy the ones that are a bit free, so he can wear them for a couple of months before he outgrows them. I looked at her and I told her, how much are these clothes said that I will go and be buying oversized? I will buy the perfect size. If he outgrows them in a month or 2, it doesn't matter. I will buy another one, because how much are the clothes safe? It was just him. Remember, by the time my daughter came, nobody told me nobody told me to go back and visit what my friend told me. So you can have 3 children, and these 3 children will have 3 different parents. You know why? They are not going to meet you at the same time. They are not going to meet you in the same place. Firstly, your first child is going to meet you alone. I actually put materials down that I was going to speak from. I've been looking for the materials for a while now. Before I came to class, I was looking for the material everywhere. I didn't find the material. So thank God I'm not thank God I'm an expert in parenting. So whether I have materials or not, I can always deliver. Okay, so your first child will meet you. Very many times, the first child will meet you. As a parent, you are not experienced. You are just trying to understand parenting. So sometimes the first child will meet you super careful. There's a video that people always share on Facebook, and each time I see it and I'll ask myself, where is the lie? They will put a first-time mom. When the child is sleeping, you are always going there. A minute, you are feeling the child's pulse. You put your nose here. You are wondering, is this child okay? That is it. I saw a video on Facebook the other day. Somebody was asking a question. My child is always drooling, and then when I'm about to, sometimes she'll be bending her mouth like this, I'm like, really? Really? Shouldn't this be common sense that the child wants to eat? Then at some point I told myself, definitely a new mom that has no idea, that is anxious. Your first child will meet you like that. Your first child will meet you not experienced. Your first child will meet you learning. You are learning. By the time the second child comes, you would have learned a great deal. You have experience. So that's, I can relate. Thank you, ma. Thank you, ma. By the time the second child comes, you have more experience. So you are now a bit freer. By the time the third child comes, you have become an expert now. You have become an expert. So every child will not meet you the same way. The first child will meet an anxious mom, an anxious parent. The first child will meet a parent who most times you think, for the very first child, very many parents, we prepare for it, even buy things. Every single parent, I'm sure every parent, half of the things we bought, we do not need it. We ended up not using them. Eventually, You buy baby coat, you will not use it. You will buy muffler, anything they say you will buy in double. It's one child now, and it's not a lot of money, so you keep buying and buying and buying. At the end of the day, half of those things you will not use it. It is why you see, yes, first child will meet you unprepared. That is the exact language, ma. Thank you so much, ma. First child will meet you unprepared, because no matter how prepared you are, how many books you read, how many classes you take, how much you think you know, head knowledge is actually different from hand knowledge. So first child will meet you unprepared. First child will either meet you too careful or careless. First child. So, and that first child, our children inherit our energy. They inherit our anxiety. They inherit our carefulness. They inherit all of that. Somebody's at the gate, please. Sorry, excuse me. When you knock once. I'm always in class. You are disturbing me, please. Sorry about that. I have some people coming around. Okay, so the first class child will always meet you unprepared, meet you anxious, meet you too careful, meet you under careful, meet you ready to be wasteful, meet you ready to pamper your child. He's only one child. He has all your attention, he has all your time, he has all your everything. So it's just one child, and at the end of the day, that child will inherit all of that. By the time the second child comes, you are more relaxed. You know better. You have experimented here and there, so you are no longer as edgy, as anxious as you were with your first child. That is the second child, and the third child comes in. You are more relaxed. So even when you have 3 children, they are going to meet you at 3 different levels, and if you are not intentional, they are going to inherit 3 different energies from you. Now, there is always a common saying that, oh my God, the first child is a leader. Again, I will say one thing. It depends on the family dynamics. Family dynamics. There are some, because I sat that all the research I did. Oh, first child leader. If you saw the flyer I used for this particular class, you will also see where it was written first child leader, second child peaceful, and third child charming. I'm like, second child peaceful from when to where? Like, make it make sense. And I was like, first child leader, again, make it make sense, So that's it. For very many first children, again, it depends on the family dynamics. Plays a great role. Plug this in quickly so that I can have my peace, please. It depends on the family dynamics again. Now, what happens to very many first children when parents have them? Remember, the parents don't have experience. So because the parents don't have experience, they are anxious. Sometimes they are overprotective. Sometimes they are just overprotective. And these children will get this energy. They will get this entitled energy from their parents. Now, for very many first children, they are also broken along the way. And the reason they are broken along the way is because of a kind of culture we have as human beings. I've seen this play out very many times. Once a parent has a second child, that first child automatically is expected to become an adult. You have a younger brother. They forget, and I always ask this question to parents, that when they compare their firstborn, that when they think their firstborn should be an adult, I always ask them this question: if this child was your only child, would you still have these expectations of this child? You have a 3-year-old, you have a 4-year-old. Now, because you have a baby, a 1-year-old, a 2-year-old, you just automatically expect that first child to actually now become an adult. You forget that he or she is still a baby. This whole thing, they go a long way to shape the child's identity, because at the end of the day, you will not allow that child to be fully a child. You will break the child by that. Now, this is why you see very many children, they regress, especially first children. They regress a lot. What I mean by that is, when they get to a certain age, The things they have stopped doing, you will see them doing it. Because maybe they have stopped defecating on their bodies, they've stopped peeing on their bodies, they have stopped, they stopped having you feed them. They can feed themselves comfortably. They can go to bed and sleep on their own. So that level of independence they've gotten over the time, you will see them, they will start losing them. They'll defecate on their bodies, they'll pee on their bodies, and you see parents will not be overreactive to those things. And I always tell parents, if your child is in that age, it's absolutely normal. There are a lot of reasons responsible for it. And one of the reasons responsible for it, if the child is not sick, one of the reasons responsible for it is that with the coming of the second child, your attention is divided. You automatically think, oh, the first child is an adult. Your first child doesn't need you as much as the second child does. Of course, that's how it's supposed to be. So the second child is the one you want to give all your attention to. And the first child, who still needs attention, realizes that when baby cries, mommy carries baby. When baby pulls on her body, on his body, mommy goes there and wipes off baby. Mommy sits with baby to feed baby. And they also want that attention from you. They also want that closeness from you. What do? They want to do those things that baby does, so that they can get the attention that you are giving baby. They can also get the attention from you. Now, for very many parents, they're not able to manage the first child, because raising children can be so overwhelming. We know that already. So they are not able to manage the first child. Because of that, it is, when we talk about maybe siblings rivalry, I always say that a lot of factors far away from what we always think are always responsible. You can see some siblings from when they are small, even though they play together, there is still something about them. One will feel less loved, not because you have shown less love, if they do not understand order. It is why in the Visionary Parent Academy we have my family constitution. That way everybody is carried along on the same page. Because if you don't carry everybody along on the same page, some will naturally feel cheated, some will naturally feel less loved. And one thing I've noticed about children is when they have issues, they will not take it out on the parents. They are going to take it out on the sibling. I don't know if you have noticed it. If two siblings are fighting, for example, and you now step in, or maybe two siblings are fighting over an item, you go there, you take the item from them. You were the one that took the item from them. You were the one that didn't listen to them. They will not take it out on you. They will not be angry at you. Rather, they'll be angry at their sibling. So one of the reasons, some of those things, they come from small, when the children are super small. Parents will wonder. It is why very many of these things that you see coaches talk about, siblings rivalry, you will say, I'm doing everything. It may actually be more foundational than that. It may actually be from small, when one child was giving more attention than the other child. And it's not like you deliberately want to do that. You don't want to cause division, but it's just that the other child is smaller. And it's smaller, so you want to actually protect that child. So at the end of the day, the older child will have a certain kind of resentment, and the younger child will feel more entitled. Let me look at a major topic. We always think, oh, the second child is very stubborn. I've heard people say that 1,000,001 times. The second child is always very stubborn. And I always want to ask, were they born? Is it that from day one they are born that they are stubborn? Or again, is the family dynamics that is working out? I want to believe that it is actually the family dynamics that works out most of the time to make the second child stubborn. When the first child is born, as a parent, you are testing waters, you are experimenting, you are setting your boundaries. Don't go there, don't do this and all of that. So as the first child is growing, the second child comes in, and the second child is witnessing everything. Hello, you look very beautiful today, girl. Slay, thank you so much. Thank you so much. I don't even know who is talking, but it's okay. Thank you so much. True, most first children are guinea pigs. They are guinea pigs. We experiment with them. Yes, your first child will always meet you. Absolutely. So I was saying the first child you have experimented. While you are doing all of that, the second child is watching. They are watching where the first child stops. And for them, you know, the first child is stopping. And you know, for many parents, that with that first child, it's easy for us to build connection, more connection with them when they are smaller, because it's just the first child. When they cry, we run to them. Anything they do, we run to them. We want to give them attention. So it is easy for the first child to actually feel our love more. And naturally, when you love someone, you do not want to hurt them. Even children understand this from small. So they don't want to hurt you. So it is easy. It is why very many children, very many first children are more compliant. So by the time you have the second child, that you are a bit more experienced, that yes, your attention is now divided. The second child, first of all, the first child came and made just you. The first child came and had you all to themselves. 100% ownership, no sharing. Now, the second child came and they realized that there's a tiny human like them that they will have to share you with. That is definitely one thing too. A tiny human that is also trying to get your attention the way they are trying to get it. Now, the second child also watches the first child. They see everything that happens. Remember, the first child complies more because it was just you. Easy for you to sit with them, bond with them. So now the second child has come. The first child is something they used to experiment. They want to experiment with the first child. So to them, like, okay, if you say no and the first child sits, if you say don't go there and the first child withdraws, they actually want to see, okay, maybe, why should I just withdraw like that? Let me try again. Let me do again. It is why they came prepared to protest. Like, why is there another little woman here? You know, why is it not just me? So the second children, they came, and because there is already a human being there, their attention is always divided. The second boss, they've come to fight now. It's a normal thing. The first child had only you, no fighting, nobody to share you with. But the second child came, and when they came, they realized that they just have to fight for you. So they want to be tough from small. They want to be tough from small because they know that there's another little woman there, and they want to fight for you. I don't know if you are getting my own theory of why we always think that the second children are more stubborn. And again, it's not every second child that is more stubborn, really. Because I have a friend, the first child is fire, while the second child is water. It happens in so many families too. But in so many other families, like my family, the first child is calm. The second child, not that the first child is not necessarily calm, but she's just in her own space. But the second child, she's actually the one that is the fire starter. I want to call it that way. So that is it with the second child. Now let's talk about the third child. And by the second child, I don't necessarily mean 1, 2, 3. The second child can actually be we can have first child, you can have second child, it can be 4, 5, 3 children in the middle. I'm just talking about children in the middle. Then our second is super calm. She said her second is super calm. Family dynamics. Now let's look at the lastborn. We always believe that lastborns are sports. Lastborns never grow. Lastborns this, lastborns that. Why don't lastborns grow? Because by the time the lastborns come, they never really grow. Remember, I said something about the first child. It's the same thing that happens to the last child. In very many families, if the parents are not intentional, the first child is supposed to automatically grow because they have a younger sibling. You hear parents say things like, I don't know, I just suddenly had kata this morning. I was telling my children, I don't know how I got this kata suddenly this morning, and it has been, excuse me, I didn't plan for it. Suddenly just had it this morning. Sorry about that. So I was talking about the first child. Now, like I was saying that the first child, once the second child is, a parent has a second child, they automatically expect the first child to be grown, to be an adult. The first child suddenly has responsibilities, even when they are not up to. I get this every time, and when I ask the parent how old, they will tell me 6, 5, 7. Like, because you have 3 other children, you have 2 other children, you just think that that first child that is 5, 6 should be automatically an adult. Like, this thing freaks me out a great deal. And I always beg parents, please don't break this your first child. Don't break your first child, because if he's an only child, you will still carry him like a baby. You will still attend to him, you know. Sorry, Kata. So the same thing happens to the lastborn. So the lastborn is the flip side of the firstborn. You know, because the lastborn is lastborn, to the parents, he is never grown. He is never grown. The same way the first child is expected to automatically grow because he or she has younger ones. The same way the lastborn never grows because he has elder ones or he has older ones. So at the end of the day, you realize that. And another thing that happens to the lastborn is, by the time the parent has the first child, they are experimenting. By the time they have the second child, they are knowing better. By the time they have the last child, they have known better. They are now more relaxed. They now realize that all the things. Sorry about that. They realize that very many of the things they are doing are not necessary. They realize that they have been making mistakes, they have been experimenting, or they are simply just tired. So because of that, the lastborn tend to get away with a lot of things. Thank you so much, man. The lastborn tend to get away with a lot of things. Oh, God. Sorry, please, and I cannot even take drugs because I'm already on I cannot even take medicine because I'm already on some medicine already. So the lastborn tend to be more. Lastborn tend to get away with a lot of things because the parents are more relaxed now, and the older children, they have more responsibilities. So, and you know, because more responsibilities are given to the older children, more accountability is demanded from them. So the lastborn is now relaxed. In very many homes, if the children, something goes wrong, the lastborn is exempted. The lastborn is not blamed. He's not disciplined. He's not corrected. The lastborn is infallible, cannot sin. So eventually they end up not growing. They end up not knowing how to do things well. They end up being spoiled. You know, no wonder it's easy for them to just go into the kind of ministry that is, because it makes them feel they are charming, they have charm, they are cute, and it makes them feel entitled, really. So now let's look at it. Take it one by one. Now, like I was saying, if you have a typical second born, you will realize that they are a bit more competitive. Why? Because they came into the family and realized that they have a brother, they have a sister. There's already a tiny human that is bigger than them. So they are ready to fight for their parents' attention. It is why we see them as stubborn, because they came ready to compete. For the firstborn, you will see so many firstborns at the end of the day, yes, if the parents are able to, like I talk about family dynamics, let me share a story with you. I have someone that is very close to me. So the parents had 3 of them, 2 boys and 1 girl. They are men now, grown up. So this particular man, he was born into a family where the mother was something like a philanthropist. And so he lost his father very small. And his father also was from a home where they have these kindred spirits, and the father was a bit comfortable. So because the father was a bit comfortable, they were always dragging everybody around, helping people and all of that. So when this guy, as he was growing up, everybody, they automatically expected him to fall into the shoes of his father, to wear the shoes of his father. So the respect they were going to give his father was no longer alive. He was giving the respect. So if they had something to do in the family, they would go and call him to come and do that thing, like the man. Anything from when he was small, he was the man of the house. Anything they wanted to do, call the man of the house. Anything they wanted to do, call the man of the house. You see, that particular man of the house gave him that responsibility, as he was the first child, or he is the first child. Actually gave him that leadership position. Even the way he talks, authoritative. Sometimes you wonder, why are you talking to me like a child? Because remember, I talked about family dynamics. The family gave him that responsibility. Nobody sat him down and told him you are the first child or one thing. But the culture, the family culture, the culture of the place, the home, is it the community or the village he came from, they all just come to shape his identity, that he always saw himself as the leader. Now the second born, a boy on the other hand, was very competitive with the brother, because seeing how his brother was being treated. Any small thing, call him. Family meeting, call him. They want to do something, call him. Even when he did not have a superior opinion, they will always call him and they will always take his opinion. Automatically, he was forced into leadership that he may not have planned for. And the second born was forced into competitiveness. Then the last girl again. What happened to the last girl? One, only girl. And secondly, the elder brother was already forced into becoming the father of the house. So his duty for the mother, the extended family, and everyone. At the end of the day, that particular last girl got spoiled, pampered, got rotten. Why? Because as the last girl with elder brothers who always care for him, as the last girl with mom who always lets the brothers know, don't you know she's your only sister? Don't you know she treat her like a baby? She grew and became so entitled that she couldn't make reasonable meaning out of her own life. Why the brother, the elder brother, that one literally lived for the people, lived to prove that point of an elder brother. Someone I know very well, so I don't want to go into details because it is a really sad family story. He had so much responsibility, not that somebody gave him the responsibility. The culture, the family dynamics literally imposed it on him, or subtly imposed it on him. Family dynamics. The girl also became so entitled that she wasn't able to do something reasonable with her life. Even when she married, she was still entitled to her brothers. At the end of the day, she has passed because of all of that. Because the way you treat one child can actually affect the other child. You did not plan. You can make one child. If you have watched the movie Monica, you get my point. You can treat one child as a slave, as the guinea pig, as everything. Because if you have 10 chores and you expect your first child to do all the chores because you have a first child, naturally the other ones will become entitled. They will be relaxed. They will become entitled. They will not know how to do well. Why? Because the first child is saddled with everything. And again, for very many first children, they can grow up being resentful. They can grow up being people-pleasing. They can grow up being leaders, indeed. Leaders. It now depends on the other factors that will come together to shape them. Like the person I was talking about, someone I said close to me I was talking about, it was easy for him to rise up to the occasion of being the leader because in his family he had a lot of people working. The mom had like a shop and he had people always working for her and all of that. So everybody always cleans his mess. Everybody always does things for him. But you see that responsibility, and he now got to realize small in his early age that People around him, what they wanted from him was money. Once he had the money, he could settle, because most family meetings they were calling for, it was money now, and this one did this one, this one, they need this money. You won't believe what happened. He was doing well, he was managing his life, and one day he actually lost his job. When he lost the job, he was broken. When you say broken, he was broken. Okay, he was so broken. So, and I was saying that he is broken not because he has lost his job, because he has failed. He feels that he has failed in that his leadership responsibility, that his family dynamics, his family structure gave to him. That is it. He may not wake up one day and say he has failed, but his consciousness, his mental programming, they were what were working against him. Birth order. First child, second child, third child. It's not really about the birth order. It's about our family system. As a family, what we do with the birth order, how we approach our children in the different age bracket or in the different birth order. When we have the last child, we always want to like pamper, because by the time we have other children, I've heard these parents say this, that when their children ask them for something, when the last child asks them for something, easy for them to give the last child than other children. Sometimes if you're not conscious, you fall into that trap. Why? Because if the first child asks, sometimes the other children will come and ask. By the time the third child is coming to ask, you are tired, you give. Not because you want to give, because they've come to ask, they are disturbing. You want to give and rest. It is why from small you set your boundaries. I always say you set your boundaries. There has to be a reason. Because if you keep doing it like that, other children may feel okay. They may feel the last child is loved more. And the last child may also feel entitled. They will feel they can always charm their way into getting what they want. And life does not work like that. And we're raising our children for the real life. Okay, what I wrote here, because when I missed I didn't see my material again, I was just trying to come up with something. I said two children are not born into the exact same family. I've explained that. No, two children are not born into the exact same family, because they will experience the family in two different ways. My second child, super calm, but my own second is not calm. In the house, it's only when she is outside she is calm. The second child is not calm. It's only when she's outside she's calm. Okay, maybe outside she's testing waters. You know how some children can be. They don't easily warm up. But once they warm up, they will dominate. So some children, it takes them a long time to warm up. A very long time to warm up. Like my son, my 9-year-old. I know that it took him a very long time to warm up. When my other children go and pick him from his school and they start saying they saw him doing this, they say, this one that everybody thought was the teachers, they used to have positive comments about him, his behavior, everything, all the time, calm, sitting in one place, reading, all of that. Now that he has tested the school and he's relaxed after how many years in the school, he's the one that they are telling stop now. Some children are like that. Okay. And when we talk about calm, it's not always maybe about the child is outspoken. We're also talking about quiet stubbornness. We're talking about energy. We're talking about taking initiative, leadership, and all of that. Okay, the other thing I wrote, I say birth order does not have to determine a child's identity. That is it. Birth order does not have to determine a child's identity. It is our family dynamics that actually influence the child, and not necessarily birth order. I will explain this. Some time ago, one of the visionary parent coaches and I were talking. We're talking about a particular person and how, for example, he always changes his age. Let's say he's 20. He wants people to believe he's 25. Why? So that nobody will think him small. So when she was telling me, I was telling her that I said, and he is. When it comes to birth order, he's the last born. I said, okay, you know why this happens, why this may be happening? Because even when she started saying it, I didn't even know he was a last born. I said, he may actually be a last born that last born thing did not favor. You know, the last born culture, the last one is being spoiled, the last one is being pampered. That last born thing did not favor him. Maybe it's a last born that he has older siblings. He was forced to always call them as uncle, auntie, even though he didn't want that. He was the last born that was typically sent on an errand every single time. Do this, do that, do this, go there, go there. You know, he was the last born that was taken advantage of. The thing, the pampering that comes with being a last born, he didn't experience that. So if he experienced that, yes, he'll be happy. I'm a last born, proudly, because he knows that last borns are always pampered. Last borns always get away with what they do. Last borns are always favored. You know, that thing will give him a certain pride, and he will own his last born, own his age with all pride. But if he was a last born that was used, you know, the kind of last born that at the end of the day, everybody will have to wear cloth and hand it down to him. Nothing new. When you have some last borns that their older ones will even go out, buy something nice and say, take. But his kind of last born may be that last born that he never got something until everybody had used it. Firstborn used it, second son, third son, everybody had used it before to now get to his hand. You see, and he will know that all those things actually because I am the last born. So it will not sit well with him. So when he now became an adult, independent, on his own, no, don't last born me again. So because of that, he wanted, you know, that last born thing that actually did not make him do a lot that he wanted to do, be who he enjoy his childhood the much he wanted to. Now as an adult, he doesn't want to be associated with that last born thing again. So anything that will make him the youngest in the group only goes back to remind him of his childhood. Even if it's an official group where age is a number, maybe intelligence work better or your status, you know, concern them. You see, that age being the youngest in the group is a no-no for him. Is a no-no for him because of the family dynamics. Meanwhile, there are some families, they will have their children, the last one will be pampered, the last one will be spoiled, the last one will be so entitled that anywhere they go to, they want to remain last born because they have been programmed to enjoy the last born privileges. Again, it's the family dynamics. What you are doing with your children's birth order as a family. It is why in the Visionary Parent Academy we have my family constitution so that everybody can be on the same page. No one is feeling cheated. No one is feeling, everyone can be on the same page. Okay, so I mentioned that birth order does not shape your child's identity, but the position a child occupies in the family can be influenced by the experience, expectations, roles, and messages through which their identity is formed. I was trying to remember someone that pioneered the birth order theory, Alfred Adler, suggests that birth order impacts identity, not because of biology, but because of a child's position changes that environment and interaction within the family structure. That is true. You agree with me that a child's position changes the environment. For example, we have children, like yesterday, one of my sister-in-laws came around. As she was leaving, she gave my children some money, you know. Now, sharing that money, if we are going to look at birth order to share that money, that thing has already impacted the child. Because I am the smallest, because I'm the youngest, I am going to take the smallest amount of the money. You get that? I'm going to take the smallest amount of the money. And if it's a child who probably has needs, or a child who always wants to take the large portion, they are going to feel bad because I'm the smallest. I should be taking the smallest. Why? If it's a child who you are always calling, now just imagine a situation. You have a child, because he's the youngest of the family, he does a lot of running errands. Go and do this, go and microwave the soup. Oh yeah, go and put water on fire to make the eba. Okay, go and buy this thing from here. Okay, go and put on this, go and do that. The child is the one all over the place because he's the youngest. You will send the child on an errand, your spouse will, your other siblings will. And at the end of the day, when there is something to be shared, something to be divided amongst them, then you will still come up with the philosophy that, oh, you are the youngest. So take the least. What do you think that would do to the child psychologically? That child will not want to be the youngest. They will not like. So when they go to a place, they will not want to be the youngest. They will not. Even in their career, they don't want to settle for the bottom. In the things they do, they don't want to settle for the bottom. They don't want. Because all their life they have been the youngest. All their life that they have been treated unfairly. Now that their lives belong to them, they have their lives in their hands. They don't want that again. It is why you can see them, like the mom I was talking about, the coach. It is why that particular person that we were talking about actually is going on out to say, no, I'm 5 years older. I'm 10 years older. It is why that person may even go as far as trying to occupy big positions just so that they are no longer small, just so that they are no longer lastborns, so that they are no longer being sent on an errand here and there. They are no longer giving them the smallest portion of whatever it is to be divided. I don't know if you are getting my gist. Okay, that is about it. So the family structure, the interaction in family, they shape identity, not necessarily the position, but the family interaction. Imagine the older child. There are even some older children, I'm older than you, I'm older than you. My younger one. I've seen an adult, the way he talks, like, I was just laughing. You are an adult, you are the oldest one. So what does that translate into? Yes, we respect you for that, but make it make sense outside the fact that his age you are respecting. Why? Because from small, people even do it all of the time. They lose opportunities because of the age thing.
What will you celebrate?
Because of the age thing, they lose opportunities. They throw opportunities away because in their families, they were always like, you are the oldest, do this. You are the oldest, do that. Like in some families, they want the oldest child to be respected, so much so that they will also deliberately assign chores to the younger ones and do all of that and leave the older one aside. And that older one also will grow up feeling entitled to other people's service, feeling entitled to other people, resources and everything. Family dynamics. Okay, the family dynamics in some family, the first child is another parent. I think I've talked about that. In some, he is forced to take responsibilities. This is what happened in some families. The first child is another parent. They are forced. We see them. I saw a boy on Facebook one time. Everybody was hailing the boy. I'm like, if the parents are leaving this child alone at home with these children, it is too much. You will end up taking the childhood of that child away. Young child that was how many years old, feeding the sister, already knew how to do everything. Yes, it being responsible, that was fantastic. But I was just imagining that small child also has a life of his own. I don't remember his age, but he was pretty small. He has a life of his own. At the end of the day, he will not be able to be a child again. They will take the childhood away from him with responsibilities. Okay, so I've talked about regression. I've talked about regression, how we automatically not see. Okay, one of the things I also noted here that I want to talk about is, now when it comes to family order shaping identities, there are some things that actually come in the way of it. One is the age gap. Of course, you know that. Like I said, the second child is likely going to be very competitive, especially when the first child is also another small human like him. It's like you came to a place. You always wonder, I'm sure you have experienced this. You see the child, and the only thing, the person they can challenge in the house is their sibling. Because they have looked at the sibling. Oh, this is another small human like me. Okay, maybe I cannot walk yet. He can walk, but it's also a small boy like me. They will start challenging that sibling. So, age difference. When the child, they are born far apart, you automatically know that age difference will certainly come in. The only reason why age difference may not play such a role is that, like some parents, you have a way of putting down children. Because if your second child comes in, they see another big person in the house, they don't automatically know that it's another tiny human like me. They'll think it's another big human. But when you talk, the way you now addresses that child, the way you address your toddler with a little less respect, then you address this other one with a little less respect. You smack, you yell, they also depend on you fully, just as that little toddler depends on you fully. Then the little toddler will know that, the little human will know that, okay, that one is in my category. But if you are a parent and you are super intentional, age will actually make a great deal of difference in the birth order, in influencing identity. Gender, of course, we know this one. We know gender. When you have a first child, a male child, a second child, a female child, in so many families, the second child, the daughter, is the ada, is the one that will literally forced to become the mother. So they almost overtake the first child, the first son. They almost become the first child because of how we are nurturing them. Ada, mother of the house, you are supposed to do this one, they do this one, they do this one. At the end of the day, that second child does not become the second child, automatically becomes the first child because of the age. Even when it's the boy, is the same thing. We tell the boys, it's your sister, you're supposed to protect your sister, you're supposed to do this thing to your sister, be a gentleman. At the end of the day, that second child, with their born stubbornness that they came with, competition, they will automatically just take over as the first child. That can affect birth order. Then temperament, neurodiversity, how a person is innately wired can also affect birth order. How a person is innately wired. Some people are wired calm. So even if you are the second child, you are wired super calm. Being the second child does not stop you from being super calm. Like I talked about a friend of mine, I have 2 daughters. The first child is fire, while all dramatic, while the second child is very, very calm and easygoing. So if that is your temperament, your child picks a temperament that is calm, it will also affect how the birth order affects them. Family stress, we know about this. Family stress, loss of family members, or any major thing that happens in the family can also impact birth order. Imagine if a child is very close to a particular parent and they lose that parent, that child may be broken for a long time. So these are some of the things that will make family order, birth order, not really as predictive as possible. However, one of the things I wanted to take away is the fact that birth order really does not necessarily shape a child. There is no science to prove that birth order shapes a child. When I was doing my research, I was asking ChatGPT some questions. He will answer and I will say, no, this is not real. I said, for example, I'm in Africa, I'm in Nigeria. This is what I noticed. And they will say, oh, we are sorry. They will not give an excuse and all of that. To give an excuse and all of that. So birth order is not biological. It's not like, oh, the first child must be a leader, the second child must always be stubborn, the third child must be XYZ. No. What happens is your family system, your family dynamics that are always shaping your child. Your family system is what will determine what shapes your child, and not necessarily birth order. It is why, again, in the Visionary Parent Academy, we have what we call the family constitution. It is why you need to seek knowledge. It is why you must learn. If you learn, you will know, okay, my first child is here. How do I manage my first child? My second child has come to join my first child. What do I do? Because I want everybody to be on an equal playing field. Remember, every child will not experience you the same way. Every child will not. Your first child will come and experience the unprepared you, the anxious you, the careful you, the careless you. The second child will come and experience, okay, the more careful, the less anxious you. In fact, the first child most likely will experience the rich you, because it's just one child. So you are able to meet their needs. You are able to just do everything. But the second child, they are going to meet a different version of you, a more experienced you, a you that you know better. You are trying to experience things. And if second child, most likely, first child is going to meet new items everywhere they sent. The second child are going to meet a lot of reuse. The one the first child has used. And of course, the third child is going to meet a different version of you entirely, a pre-use. And children from small, they start absorbing our energy. Science proves it that even when a parent, a mom for example, is pregnant and she is stressed, she is depressed, and she is not in a good place psychologically, the child takes all that energy. The child in the womb, let alone the child on the physical space, will still take this energy. Now what you want to do as a parent is you want to understand. Next week we are going to conclude on our family, on our nurturing deep-rooted identity in our children. So next week is going to be more of solutions. No matter the birth order and everything, what can we do to make sure our children are deeply rooted in identity, so that at the end of the day, whatever they do, wherever they are who they are supposed to be, not who we ignorantly shaped or who we allowed society to shape. Thank you so much for joining. See you next week Tuesday. Bye bye. Remember, the Visionary Parent Academy is still open for registration. Register and join us now, so that next year you'll be with us from the beginning of the class to the end of, from January to December. You will be with us next year. Have a fantastic Tuesday. Bye bye.